Get out if you're useless and not working. Quit being a mom right now, you parasite. I never knew they were the kind of people who could say such awful things without a second thought. All I wanted was to create a happy family with Scott and Nicole, but I wonder where I went wrong. Understood. I realized I couldn't live with them anymore. I decided to divorce Scott and return to my previous life. However, it was unbelievable that they reached out to me as soon as I went back to my old life. As if nothing had happened. Did they think I would do as they said? If so, I wish they would stop taking me for granted. I know their goal is not me, but my money, and they better understand that. I am Michelle Foster. I used to work as an office sales clerk for a local company, but now I am a full-time housewife. Growing up, my family's business struggled, and we had financial difficulties. So I was somewhat strict about money. My twin sister Courtney is similar in this regard. Both of us prefer to avoid financial struggles, influenced by our childhood environment and personality. Aside from my sales job, I also have a business with Courtney, which I believe is going fairly well. Despite being busy with my work and the business with Courtney, leaving little time for my personal life, a turning point came. This happened at the office where I worked as a sales clerk. One day, an insurance salesman visited. Usually, I wouldn't pay much attention since we were covered by insurance. But his pen caught my eye. This was how I met Scott, who would later become my husband. That pen, it's from that theme park, right? I really wanted it too and went there, but couldn't get it. He had a limited edition pen from a famous theme park. Hard to get and now traded at a premium price. I also had the bitter memory of missing out on it despite visiting the park. Yes. I went there with my daughter who wanted it, and we both won it in a lottery. It's kind of odd for someone my size to be using it. His laugh while saying this was strangely memorable. Not at all. Oh, you have a daughter? Yes. I'm a single father. And you're the first person I've had such a good conversation with because of this pen. Really? I love that character, sorry for getting distracted at work. No worries, please. Oh, I'm Scott Foster. That's how a conversation about a pen turned into regular chats. He became responsible for visiting my workplace and started showing up frequently. Our casual conversations at work led to something more significant. I know it might be strange coming from a single father, but I really want to express my feelings to you, Michelle. Would you consider dating me? I want to know more about you, Michelle. Sorry for being so sudden. No, I enjoy talking to you too. I'd be happy to. Scott's face lit up with joy. I'm so glad. I thought you might say no. No, I'm looking forward to it. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and after 5 years of dating, it was time to think about marriage. Michelle, will you marry me? Yes. I'm happy. I've always wanted to be with you. I was overwhelmed with happiness when he proposed at a beautiful restaurant during Christmas. Having led a life distant from men until meeting Scott, it felt unreal. With me still in shock, Scott became serious. Michelle, there's something I need to tell you before we get married. What is it? You seem so serious all of a sudden. I became anxious seeing Scott's serious expression, something I hadn't seen before. You know I have a daughter. If we get married, I want you to be her mother. Me, a mother? At 35, focused on my career, the sudden request to become a mother was confusing. Lacking maternal instincts, the idea of suddenly becoming someone's mother was perplexing. I know it's surprising, but I'm serious about our future. My daughter, Nicole, is almost 10 and can manage most things herself. Wait, please. I knew about Nicole, but me, suddenly a mother? I've met her, but I'm also working. Nicole would be happy if you became her mother. And please, don't quit your job. Scott was desperately trying to convince me. Your life won't change much. And I just want you to be a support for Nicole as a mother. Normally, being asked such a thing before marriage might make someone reconsider the marriage itself. But I was different. I convinced myself that Scott being so honest with me meant he was serious about our future together. Please look at me. You're serious about our future together, aren't you, Scott? Of course. She's your precious daughter, Scott. I'll do whatever I can. Thank you. That's how the flow towards marriage began. I had met Nicole a few times before, and my impression was that she was ordinary, like any other girl. Nicole? Yes, it's Nicole. I've heard about you from my dad, Michelle. Nicole's smile was incredibly charming. Feeling that she was a nice girl, I felt there would be no problem living together as a family. I'm going to marry your dad, Nicole. I wanted to come and say hello. I'm happy that someone as wonderful as you will become my mom. After such interactions, I couldn't deny feeling quite pleased. With the sole intention of being happy, I decided to marry Scott and become Nicole's mother. However, I didn't realize at the time that this feeling was a fundamental mistake. The days after the marriage were happy. Initially, I was anxious about marrying someone with a child, but it turned out to be a needless worry. Nicole was well-behaved and didn't require much attention. She mostly took care of herself, leaving me with little to do. Around that time, I was involved in a pivotal work project. If my proposal was accepted in the upcoming competition, I might be promoted to section chief, so I was a bit on edge. Just as I was putting in the final push, thinking I might succeed, Nicole said something unexpected. Michelle. Can I talk to you for a moment? What's up, Nicole? Well, you might think it's selfish, but I want a mom at home. Seeing Nicole look at me hesitantly while she spoke, my heart felt like it was being squeezed. I might have been making her feel lonely without realizing it. The thought made me feel helpless. Right, you're always home alone when you get back. I'm used to being home alone, but sometimes I feel a tightness in my chest. That's why I want a mom around. Due to the important work project, I had been working overtime until late at night. There were days when I barely caught the last train home for 3 consecutive days. Recently, I hadn't really seen Scott or Nicole. With Scott's frequent business trips and overtime, we were making Nicole feel quite lonely. I was also happy that she called me a mom. Mom, are you talking about me? Who else? You're my mom, aren't you? Seeing Nicole's shy smile, I thought about how I wanted to protect this smile forever. Indeed, I liked my job and a promotion would mean a salary increase. However, work isn't everything in life. I seriously contemplated what I truly wanted to protect. And then I made a decision. I'm going to quit my job. I'll be a full-time housewife and take care of this family. I don't want Nicole to feel lonely. Thank you. I'm so happy. I was a bit worried about what Scott would think, but he surprisingly agreed. Really? That's great, Nicole. And don't worry, I earn enough to support the 3 of us. No problem at all. Seeing Scott laugh heartily, I felt relieved. However, the peaceful days didn't last long. When I had gotten used to life as a full-time housewife, Scott came home irritated one day. Welcome home. What's wrong? Nothing. Saying so, he stomped off to the bedroom alone. He didn't take a bath and stayed in the room without coming out. I guessed something must have happened at work, but since he was irritated and alone, I couldn't understand what was going on. The next evening at dinner, Scott finally opened up about why he was irritated. I can't believe it. I'm definitely better at my job. Did something happen at work? Listen. I'm better at my job and have been with the company longer. Why wasn't I chosen? I was so close to becoming a manager. Saying this, he banged his hands on the table. Summing up Scott's story. It seemed there was a possibility that either he or a colleague of the same age would be promoted to manager. However, in the end, his colleague was chosen. That guy came in mid-career. Leaves early without doing overtime, and yet why him? I've been contributing to this company for decades since graduating from college. It's frustrating, but there are people who notice your hard work. There will be another chance. My words seemed to offend Scott, and he glared at me with an intense expression. What do you know? Stop saying such irresponsible things. Since that day, Scott started lashing out at me for everything. One night, I prepared dinner and waited for him. But he didn't come home and didn't contact me. When he finally arrived and I spoke to him, he didn't respond. Welcome home. I was worried because you were late. What about dinner? It's late, so maybe we can do it tomorrow. What are you thinking? It's Friday, and there could have been a business reception or something. Can't you think of that? This is why you can't do your job properly. He sighed heavily and went into the bedroom. When Scott is like this, he locks himself in the bedroom, as if wanting to be alone. Our bedroom has both Scott's and my bed, so when he locks it, I can't enter. I used to ask him through the door to unlock it, but lately, I've given up. I guess Scott is struggling with his own issues and needs to be alone. I prepared to sleep on the sofa, telling myself that. As I started to feel worn out from being constantly affected by Scott's whims and moodiness, I noticed changes in Nicole too. Good morning, Nicole. You were up late last night, weren't you? Are you okay? Ugh. So annoying first thing in the morning. She muttered under her breath and left somewhere. Wait, what about breakfast? She increasingly behaved as if she couldn't hear me. I thought it was just a temporary mood swing, but recently it's been too much. I even tried discussing it with Scott once, but he wasn't listening at all. Hey, don't you think Nicole's been acting strange lately? Haven't you noticed anything, Scott? Stop bothering me. Isn't that your job as a mother? You're even failing at that, huh? I'm not failing. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I'm tired because I actually work, unlike you. Don't drag me into this nonsense. Saying this, he quickly went into the bedroom. Whenever I bring up topics he finds inconvenient or troublesome, he locks the bedroom, leaving me feeling exhausted and worn down. I decided to give up trying to consult him. I can't seem to have a proper conversation with either Scott or Nicole lately. Is family supposed to be this strained? I didn't know who to turn to with these painful feelings or how to solve them. Just as I was pondering if something could be a catalyst for change, Nicole unexpectedly spoke to me. Hey, I'm going out with friends soon. I was so pleased that she finally spoke to me that I reacted cheerfully. Oh. Going out with friends? That's great. Have fun. Then, Nicole glared at me, slamming her hand on the table. I can't believe you. What do you mean, have fun? Are you mocking me? I was confused and didn't understand what she meant. But she seemed even more upset by my reaction. How am I supposed to go out when I have no money? Nicole, now a middle schooler, needs money for outings with friends. Oh dear, I didn't realize. I'm sorry for being thoughtless. How much do you need? About $300. She said this while jutting out her chin and reaching out her hand. When did she start behaving so disrespectfully? Even if it's a rebellious phase. Aren't there things that are acceptable and unacceptable to do to one's parents? Until then, I had been smiling, but I couldn't overlook this and decided to speak up. You know, when you do that, it hurts me. Also, isn't $300 a lot for a middle schooler to go out just once? I thought saying it clearly would make Nicole realize, but it seemed to make her angrier. What? Suddenly acting all motherly, and it's so annoying. You don't understand anything and still butt in. Unbelievable. Saying this, she left somewhere. When she casually walked out of the room, I noticed she had taken my wallet. I was so shocked I couldn't move. How could she just take someone's wallet like that? This was beyond what I could handle alone, so I decided to finally talk to Scott. Scott, Nicole's behavior has been too much lately. Today, she just took my wallet and left the room because she said she needed money to go out. Scott seemed to ignore me as if he hadn't heard. Also, she asked for $300 for going out. Isn't that too much for a middle schooler? Scott then glared at me. If Nicole says she needs that much money to go out, then she does. Just give it to her quietly. That's easy for you to say, but $300 is a lot. It's not money you can just give away. Then, Nicole, who had heard our argument, came out of her room. You're still talking about that? Smirking unpleasantly, she approached me. Of course, you're a stay-at-home mom with no money. All my friends' moms work, so they have money at home, unlike us. Being a stay-at-home mom these days, what are you thinking? Then the two of them pointed at me and said, "Get out if you're useless and not working. Quit being a mom right now, you parasite." Hearing this, something inside me snapped. Understood. I felt there was no need to stay with people who ridiculed me to this extent. Then, Scott stood in front of me holding a piece of paper. Hey, you forgot this. This is why stay-at-home moms with no common sense are useless. The paper was a divorce form, fluttering in front of me. Do what needs to be done properly. That's common sense. I snatched the form without hesitation and tucked it into my bag. I'll submit this to the municipal court myself. It's better if I don't trouble you with it, given how busy you are. You're not planning to keep it and not submit it, are you? Of course not. Besides, the submission of a divorce form will be verified by you. So there's no way I could deceive you. Scott seemed convinced by what I said and glanced at me before entering the room. I didn't want to think of someone who treated me so terribly as my husband. With that determination, I left the house and headed straight to the municipal court. Submitting the divorce form at the municipal office was over quickly. I wished I had done it sooner, seeing how easily it was completed. For now, I decided to move forward. After submitting the divorce form, I immediately went to the neighboring town. Courtney lived there, and she accepted me without hesitation when I explained my situation. What she handed me were several bank cards. It's a good thing I kept these for emergencies. Really. I shudder to think what would have happened if I had taken these with me into my marriage with Scott. I had entrusted my bank cards to Courtney when I got married. I've been married once too. People change when they see a lot of money. The only money worth having is what you earn through hard work. Exactly. The money was the cause of the issues in your previous marriage with your husband. Right. That's why I didn't want you to go through the same thing. I'm glad I insisted on keeping them. In fact, as sisters, we've always been interested in money and have worked together to increase it. We were intrigued by how to grow money and the best approaches to efficiently increase our funds. We tried every possible method to grow our wealth and experimented with various strategies. Aside from asset management and investments, we also dabbled in blog management, crowdsourcing, and entrepreneurship. After finishing my job as a sales clerk, which I worked loosely, and during my free time as a housewife, I dedicated myself to these endeavors and gradually found joy in seeing my money grow. I remember being surprised when my assets exceeded $11 million. the question of what to do with the money accumulated over the years became a concern when I married Scott. Everyone changes when they see a large sum of money. Even if Scott was a wonderful man, I feared how he might change upon seeing the money. I had asked Courtney for a favor when I got married. The profit we made together was supposed to be shared equally. A firm promise we had made since we started working together. On asset management and investments. I've managed everything properly since Michelle left her house to get married. Check the bank account. Thank you. I was right to ask you. Some people change upon marriage, even without seeing a lot of money. That's why I told you. It's better to keep quiet about having money, even after marriage. I had kept it a secret that I had been working on various projects with my twin sister before marriage and continued to grow our wealth. People might betray you in the end, but money never does. You're right. I'm glad I followed your advice. Courtney's advice came into play in this way. While I was doing small tasks as a housewife, Courtney actively managed our endeavors, generating profits beyond our imagination. A year later, our wealth had grown even more, and I almost let out a scream of joy. It's been a long journey to increase our wealth to this point. Truly. It's all thanks to what you did. Stop, you're making me blush. By the way, Michelle, I have something to discuss with you. Then Courtney showed me an email. A financial magazine wants to feature us. It's a women's finance magazine. And they're interested in our journey of increasing wealth through asset management and work-from-home strategies. Oh, I sometimes read that magazine. It's amazing that amateurs like us are going to be featured in it. Really. I never imagined we'd be introduced like this when we started this work together. So, it's okay to accept the offer? Of course. We later had an interview, and our responses were published in the magazine. It was unbelievable to see ourselves featured in one of the magazine's sections. For privacy reasons, our faces were blurred, and initials were used. So it wasn't immediately obvious it was us. A few weeks after the magazine went on sale, I started receiving numerous calls from the same phone number. It shouldn't have been obvious from just the article, but I counted them. There were 20 calls from Scott and Nicole. Initially, I ignored them, but one day, out of curiosity, I answered. Scott immediately started speaking in a pressing tone. Hey, the person in that magazine, that's you, Michelle, right? What are you talking about? This is how you start a conversation with your ex-wife? I know, because we were married for so long. There are things you just know when you truly love each other. I continued the phone call, thinking it was typical of him to start with something absurd. And then I decided to make it clear. Just so you know, we are now strangers since we're divorced. Please refrain from leaving dozens of calls. It's intimidating. Intimidating? That's an exaggeration. I just want to talk to my loving wife. Wife? We're divorced, aren't we? Scott then hesitated in his response. You didn't actually submit it, did you? Of course, I did. Is there a problem? Scott was yelling on the phone. Are you seriously telling me you thought that joke was real? I'm sorry for someone who can't take a joke like you. Scott was irate, spouting unbelievable things on his own. Marrying a failure like you and enduring. The mental anguish is something I haven't forgotten. I'll make sure to get my share of compensation from you. Feeling this couldn't go unchallenged, I decided to retaliate. Compensation? From me to you? Hardly. Have you forgotten that you're the one who should be paying compensation? What do you mean? You may think I didn't notice, but I'm well aware. You were having an affair with someone from your workplace. I could picture him fumbling over his words on the other end of the line. His voice was getting higher. What? An affair? Cut it out with your baseless accusations. I'll tell you now, I had you investigated before our divorce. It turned out that all those business trips were just excuses for your affairs. You managed to live with such a calm face, it's almost a talent. What are you going to do with that investigation now? You're not going to say you're going to get compensation from me, right? Scott was yapping like a frantic puppy. Don't worry. I didn't have you investigated just to squeeze some petty cash out of you. I have more meaningful uses for that information. Meaningful? What are you planning to do with it? Who knows? Oh, I can hear Nicole's voice in the background. Can I talk to her? Nicole's languid voice could be heard from the other end. This father and daughter thought I'd quickly give in and hand over a portion of my wealth. I could hear them saying, it's her money, so I have a right to some of it. I decided to have a brief chat with Nicole. It's been a while, Nicole. I'm sorry I couldn't give you proper allowance back then. Don't worry about it, Mom. I'm so happy to see you featured in such a famous magazine. Nicole, unlike Scott, was trying to ingratiate herself with me. Typical of Nicole, but I had no intention of getting wrapped up in her pace. I hear you've been promoting me around. Thank you. Of course. You're my mom, after all. Really? Who then, claiming to be my daughter, wrote all those things on internet forums and social media? What? What are you talking about? Nicole feigned ignorance. Playing dumb won't help. I had a lawyer check everything. If you doubt it, I can read it out right now. I decided to read a post from a forum. Could you say these words to my face? That old hag is a miser. And she must have gotten that money illegally. I saw her being chased by dangerous people. Nicole looked flustered, but I continued. You thought you wouldn't get caught using a pseudonym. But you need to take responsibility for your actions. What's with the lecture about responsibility? I'm a minor, and this is just a family issue. Do you think threatening me like this will do any good? Since she still didn't understand, I thought it best to just hang up. But wait, I should have some share of that money, right? Just transfer a bit into my account. I'll handle it appropriately on my end. I was appalled by the unabashed behavior of the two on the phone. But such deep exasperation somehow made me feel liberated. Deciding to take decisive action without hesitation, I informed a mutual acquaintance between Scott and me, whom I knew through work, about the evidence of his infidelity. I also sent screenshots of Nicole's forum posts to her school, including a letter stating my intention to report this to the police. I expected some reaction. News and rumors spread faster than I thought. And the people who heard my story or read the letter were shocked, causing the rumor to spread rapidly. Thanks to these rumors, Scott's infidelity became widely known at his workplace, ruining his chances of promotion. Nicole's almost certain recommendation for advanced studies was cancelled, leaving her in disarray. Recognized by the entire grade as the painful person who posts terrible things on websites, her friends quickly distanced themselves, leaving her to spend time alone. One day, while shopping at the supermarket, I ran into Scott and Nicole. The two I hadn't seen in a long time had no shadows of their former selves. Hey, you think you're okay, just because you're rich? What are you talking about? And why are you lying in wait here? What's your intention? It was you, wasn't it? You spread the rumor about my affair at work. And because of what you did, Nicole's recommendation got cancelled, right? As they approached me, they had the energy of people with nothing left to lose. It seemed they had been keeping an eye on my parents' house. You've messed everything up. If you had just stayed quiet and given us the money. You know, I always wanted to build a good relationship with you two as a family. But you two are the ones who ruined it. Don't blame others. you talk back with such arrogance. Who do you think you are? While exasperated by their arguments, I made my point clear. Considering everything up to now, including today's incident, maybe I should consult with the police. Even if you are a former family, there are limits, and if this continues. The moment I mentioned the police, Scott and Nicole awkwardly looked down. Do you two really want to escalate this further and end up involving the police? Realizing they were at a dead end, they walked away somewhere. Since the divorce, I've been working with Courtney on asset management. Looking back, I'm so glad I didn't tell Scott about my total assets of $11 million. Just thinking about what might have happened. If I had been completely honest with Scott and Nicole, gives me a headache. Recently, Courtney and I have been excited about starting a new company. We've heard of women who want to divorce but can't because of financial issues. We're considering opening a school that offers skills training from home, which could be interesting. I hope to support women struggling with their relationships with their husbands or children. Those who are troubled but unable to take the first step.